Hey everyone, it's me, Maddie, and welcome back to The Bridge. The Bridge is the place where we have conversations, share stories, and talk about what makes us human. And I'm here with y'all today having a human experience, as I am every single day. Life has continued to be an interesting journey, and let me tell y'all, it's taken me so long to try to record episode 7 of The Bridge. I've recorded like a bunch of episodes actually, and nothing has felt right. And every day is different, and there's different messages that seem to want to be said, different parts of my life that want to be shared, and there's so much. And I realize that I just have to start somewhere. Um, Obviously, I've taken a break from the podcast a couple months ago. Life is always going to go on and we have to stay focused. And I know that this platform, this podcast is important to me, and I have a personal goal of getting to 20 episodes by the end of the year. It's October 22nd today, I think, that I'm recording this. So I've got a couple months and I'm going to try to record as much as possible even amidst life's current kind of craziness, realizing, accepting that that never stops. And it's all about finding balance all the time, no matter where you are. And yeah, so I'm currently on the East Coast right now, and it's beautiful. I'm so happy to be on the East Coast in October, which is my favorite month. It also is just my birthday. I am 28 years old now, and I'm really happy and grateful to be here. I'm from the East Coast, by the way, if you don't know that, but I've been living in Las Vegas for the past few years, and Vegas has been amazing for my personal growth and transformation. I've learned a lot there, grown a lot there, and I'm not permanently relocating anywhere. I'm just embracing, I suppose, a more just I'm rolling with life's changes. That's all. And I'm here right now, and we are always here right now. So um, I've always been someone who maybe does tend to focus more on like structured things and want to know the details or know what's to come, but sometimes you can't know what's to come, and that's where faith comes in. And letting go of all of that, needing to know, needing to control things, because needing to know is trying to control things, because sometimes we're not supposed to know the outcome of certain things or situations. So here I am, and I don't even know what I want to talk about today. I have some ideas, but like I said, there's so much that I've been wanting to talk about. There's so many interviews I want to do. By the way, that's still an open door. If anyone wants to come on here and have a conversation with me, please reach out. Also, there's been some people that have reached out that I haven't followed up with, so I apologize for that. Um, this platform is really for having conversations. So I have a few people I want to get back to, and if you have reached out to me and you want to come on the podcast, also and or come on my TikTok or do a live with me or just interact in any way, please reach out again and let me know. I'm super open to that. I've just been moving through a lot of personal things lately. Honestly, kind of this whole year actually. So yeah, but please reach out again if you're interested or reach out for the first time. Yeah, the past few months I've been talking a lot more on TikTok instead of on YouTube. Um, and so please follow me on TikTok if you're interested. This whole journey of social media began with me sharing my story, right? Like my first podcast episode is my journey of detransitioning, how I found myself and came back to being a woman. And at first, I just wanted to focus on that. I just wanted to share my story. And then I realized as I began sharing more that my story doesn't come without the perspective and the wisdom that I've gained from it. And I'm actually doing people a disservice by silencing myself. I do sometimes think that people are can be put off by other people's opinions, and I've certainly learned that. But I can't stay silent on what I know to be true. And so the past few months, I have started sharing more of my opinions and my perspective on the transgender topic, detransition, stuff like that on TikTok and also on Instagram. And I've had quite a few videos go viral, which has been an interesting experience. My first time ever going through that. I always loved social media, but I've never had like a large following or anything like that. And it is something that I am definitely open to and interested in because I feel I have a lot to say and a lot to share. And I am somebody who feels a calling to do that. And it was not easy to accept that calling. In fact, I fought it for a long time. I did not want to start my podcast because I was scared of what people would say. And what I have experienced since March, I think it was when I put my first episode out and delving into this area more, is that, first of all, it's been mostly like a lot of support, a ton of support. And I'm so grateful for that. Like TikTok has been super, super supportive. And from what I gather, it's just regular people who are interested in this. Some people know a little bit about it, are passionate about it. It's a lot of people who are concerned about the children, and plenty of people who are faithful or religious as well. But the support has been overwhelming, and the negative feedback that I've gotten has actually been pretty minimal. I really don't get a lot of negative comments. Of course, the ones that I do get stand out. I think that's just a human thing, maybe, to focus more on those things. And I think it's also hurtful because the negative comments that I get are from the community that I once belonged to, including some of my very own former best friends. So that's a little bit, can be a little bit emotional if I let it get to me. And so my most recent viral video on TikTok, it's my first video that hit over 1 million views, was about how I lost all my friends when I detransitioned. So I figured that would kind of be my starting off place for this conversation today, and we'll see where it leads us. So I lost all my friends when I detransitioned. I didn't lose all of them right away, but they slowly disappeared, most of them without saying anything, and then some of them with saying something. So it didn't happen all at once. And mind you, my detransition happened at the same time as I was moving. So I relocated from Washington, D.C. to Las Vegas about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. And I stopped taking the hormones like while I was moving. And then just in the moving simply itself, I lost a lot of friends. I kind of it was revealed to me how few people were really there for me at the end of the day, in moving cross country and going through some major life changes, deciding for myself that I wanted better for myself, even though at that point I didn't know that what the better thing that was coming was finding my way back to acceptance of myself as a woman. And then after I'd been in Vegas for a year, I had a major awakening moment, a moment with God, a reckoning with myself, where I remembered that I was actually a woman and I had to accept myself in order to go forward in life in a purposeful way. And that actually that was what I wanted to do. Let me say that. I wanted to do that and didn't feel like I had to. Well, I felt like I had to because I love myself, if that makes sense. Um, because I am a woman. So there's no other choice but to be myself as a woman. So I had that big moment. And then it took me a few months to tell my friends, like all my friends back on the East in DC, and some friends had moved a couple other places. Like my closest friends, I had to tell them. And I didn't tell most of them, honestly, until I reclaimed my name. And then I told them, hey, like I'm going by Maddie again. This is what I've been going through. And my best friend of like 7 years never replied to my text. And I didn't hear from him until recently. So this would have been over a year since I had told him that I was detransitioning and that I was going by Maddie again. He sent me an email like a few months ago, and it really just like hit me really hard when I saw that email. It said in the subject line, speaking my piece, and then in parentheses, will not read any replies. Um, and I'm not going to get too much into the contents of the email because it was personal, but I will just say it was not a very nice email. And, it's difficult because, well, let me just say I have empathy, I have compassion because my friend that this email was from is a trans identified person, and this person and I basically transitioned together alongside one another. And so by me detransitioning it, like, and saying, hey, this path that we've walked together for so many years, side by side, even as we've lived in different places and whatnot, I'm I'm not going down this path anymore. I've had enough. I'm turning back, I'm changing, I'm moving on, and I'm not saying anything about you, but even without saying anything, I am saying something about this person. And the message that I hope to convey and what I try to convey in all of my content that I make is that you can love yourself too, and you can be who you are too, and you can be who you are in any way that you want. But I thought that I was a man for a long time. I think that a little part of me always knew that wasn't true, but I believed it enough to do some pretty radical things to myself, to my life, to my body, to try to transform myself into something that I was not. And I was never actually that thing. And if I was never actually that thing, then my friends who also have decided to make these radical changes in their lives to try to become something are also not that thing. And some people like to comment on my videos and say, well, your experience isn't everyone's experience. And well, no, it's not. I know that. But I do know that I am a woman because I am female, and this is how God made me to be. And also, I struggled with my identity. As a young person, I struggled with my mental health, and I got roped into an ideology that fed me false claims of peace and happiness, and said that if you try to, well, the ideology led me to believe that I was actually a thing called transgender, that it's possible to really be a different gender than the one that you are, or be a different sex than the one that you are. And that in order to correct that mistake, I suppose it is, I must take hormones and get surgeries and legally change my name, change my identity. It's a little windy today, so my tripod keeps falling over. And that whole ideology told me that if I did all those things, I would find happiness. I would finally be at peace with myself once I had corrected these issues of misalignment. And I went down that path as far as I was willing to go. And Lord, I am so grateful I had boundaries with myself about how far I was willing to go. Because imagine if I hadn't. For those who don't know, I did get a double mastectomy when I was 20 years old, which at the time I called top surgery. But fortunately, that was the only surgery I did. And my heart goes out to detransitioners and trans identified people alike that are dealing with the effects of any lower body part surgeries, which I think are extremely harmful and extremely painful. And for those people that choose to continue in a trans identity after having those surgeries, it's a very, I know that there must be some deep rooted pain, because at that point it's very difficult to accept that you made a mistake and that you want to go back. And my heart goes out to those that do. And if you listen to those stories on the internet, I would highly recommend it if you're curious about this topic, looking up some detransitioners. Usually they're men who basically got castrated. The grief that they have to deal with, I do not envy at all. I feel that my grief from my chest surgery is enough for me, and that has been difficult to accept. That was actually my first video that went viral on TikTok, was a video about grieving my double mastectomy, which I also have a piece that I wrote up about it on my Substack as well, which I launched my Substack a few months ago. So check that out as well. I also made a video a few months ago on this podcast called Dear Trans People, inviting trans people into the conversation. And the response was really great. So thank you if you're still here and you responded to that video. But what I noticed after that, because it was after that video, I started sharing my actual opinions, and then trans people largely seemed to get turned off by my message. And that was a little disappointing, but not unsurprising, I suppose. Um, Also, I think maybe like one or two people reached out to me from the Dear Trans People video about having a conversation, which again, like I said, I need to follow up with some people. But the openness to conversation is here. I don't hate trans people. I love trans people. I was a trans person. The love is all there. But I do believe in having real, honest conversations about these things that we're doing to ourselves and also the children and how our choices as adults impact children inevitably because we all exist in the world and there's social media. We are all impacted by other people's decisions and actions. And of course, we set examples without even meaning to. And sometimes I think we don't think about that. I think some people think that, like, if you don't have children yourself, then you kind of get to do whatever you want. But that's not how that works. I remember being a child and looking and seeing adults around me in the world. And to me, it didn't matter if I knew somebody, if they were my family or not. If it was an adult, I saw that as an example of how to be an adult. So we are all role models. We are all examples for one another. And I think that we should all try our best to be upstanding citizens in the world and think about our choices and actions and how they do impact others. And when it comes to the transition topic, I think one of the best examples and like compelling arguments as to why medical transition is harmful, even in the case of adults, is that it sets an example for young people about who they can and can't be in the world. And so I think about young women who are growing up and who are trying to find their way. And then they receive messaging that says basically that them being who they are is not acceptable. And that actually, if they are the way that they are, maybe they're confident, maybe they're a little bit tomboyish, maybe they're bold, maybe they're expressive, maybe even they are attracted to other girls. They're told that they might actually be boys and that the only way to exist and to be free as who they are is to take hormones and get double mastectomies. And I think that's extremely harmful to tell young women because that's not true and that's not the only way. And some, perhaps trans people would say that, well, maybe some of those girls are actually trans. Well, personally, I don't believe that anybody's trans. Sorry, not sorry to say that, but it's not a real thing. You can be a gender expansive person, or let me just say you can be an expansive person, you can be a creative person, you can be an expressive person. You cannot conform to stereotypical gender roles. You can do whatever you want, but actually when we allow that expansiveness to happen within the existing roles of man and woman, it helps people. It helps expand the options for men and women and for boys and girls to be who they are as they are without extreme medical intervention. And I honestly don't even know why at this point in our society we are even going down that route at all. It feels like crazy to me. Why would that even be considered? And I think about the young women because I was once a young woman trying to make my way in the world. And I honestly didn't even really get all this messaging until later because, like, I transitioned when I was 19. But I was getting a lot of messaging about, like, just not being able to be myself as the girl that I was. And now I'm proud to be the woman that I am. And, like, it's funny to me because I have literally no doubts about being a woman. Even though in the detransition process, like, at times people have still been confused about what my gender is or whatever because of some of the permanent effects from the hormones and whatnot. I don't doubt it at all myself. I know who I am. And I'm like, definitely, in some ways, I feel like I'm the most stereotypical woman ever. And also, I'm just like a different kind of person. I am creative, I am expressive, I'm funny, I think differently, uh, all these things. But I think actually that, and this is a radical thought, I think everybody is unique. I think we're all that way when we allow ourselves to be. I've never met two people that are exactly alike. Even twins are not exactly alike. We're all unique. And when we create these boxes to put ourselves in, like transgender, or even also, this is another thing I want to start talking about more, different diagnoses that people like to adopt, autistic, ADHD, whatever. We put ourselves into boxes that actually limit who we can be. I would say the one thing that I am is I am me, and there's only one of me, and I am constantly changing, constantly evolving, and I simply get to be me. I don't ever have to conform to anything. And I am a woman, but I simply kind of happen to be a woman, if you know what I mean. I don't identify as a woman, I am a woman. So I lost all my friends. I lost all my friends. And it really has highlighted to me like what a true friend really is. And I realized that I haven't had a lot of those in my life. Maybe that's a little bit sad to say, but I am grateful for the self awareness so that I can now make better choices and invite in better friends who will really be here for me throughout my life. And I'm grateful because God has brought some really amazing people into my life the past couple of years and is like currently bringing people into my life. And I'm so, so, so grateful. You know, my best friend currently highlighted something to me, or we were talking about this, and she was like, you know, the fact that the people that I called my friends at one point in my life were the same people that encouraged me to get a double mastectomy at 20 years old is pretty telling. And it, I think, has affected my trust levels with people, and I don't really fault or blame my friends because at that time in my life, I also was encouraging my friends to get double mastectomies if they identified as transgender, which is kind of sad to say myself. But just the fact that I didn't have people around me who were actually uplifting me and supporting me in the ways that I really needed. I also would say when I was younger, I really needed mentorship, and I had nobody in my life who was willing and able to be a mentor to me and to see me for who I was. I was always kind of the leader. In fact, I feel that I was almost like I do feel I influenced other people to transition. In fact, I'm pretty certain that I did. And that, like I said, that's kind of sad to think about, but I accept responsibility for that, whatever that means. And I sincerely lacked true friends in my life when I was younger. And I think true friendship means being honest with people, being truly honest, because if you love someone, you will be honest with them and you'll be willing to have difficult conversations with them. You won't exist in a place of fear about like how the person might react or what they might say to you because you are strong in your love for that friend. And so you'll be willing to have those conversations and be willing to stick it out through some challenging discussions, moments, conversations. And it hurts. It has hurt. Let me say that. I think I'm getting over it. It hurts that my friends from the past did not support me through my detransition, even before I began speaking out about it. The fact that I went through this major, major life change, and none of them even brought it upon themselves to have the curiosity to ask how I was doing. The past couple of years of my life have been very challenging. I will say that, very challenging. Of course, they've also been filled with many blessings. But I do feel I went through a lot of it alone in terms of like personal support. I've had like support of different community spaces in Las Vegas, but not a lot of people got to know me super well personally. And I can accept my part in that too. Maybe I didn't reach out enough either. Um, I guess friendship is a two-way street, and I'm still learning how to be a good friend. and learning what a good friend is to me. I have been called lately to really step up my game in terms of being a friend and also being the best version of myself, which I think that friends help hold us accountable to the best version of ourselves. If they're a good friend, they will. They'll see who we can be, what we're capable of, and they will ask us to be that person. And I'm grateful that I've been presented with opportunities to really do that. So right now I've been helping a family member with a challenging situation for a little bit. I don't think I want to speak too much on it today, but just so you all know, we do have a GoFundMe for a family in need. So I'll link that below. Please check it out. And it describes a little bit more of what I'm going through currently or what my family is going through. And I would be grateful for any and all support. I think so much, we are all capable of so much more than we typically put our minds to or than we typically allow ourselves to be. Being great requires a degree of self discipline, it requires focus, it requires self love, it requires faith, it requires fun, focus. um, and we hold ourselves back in so many ways just because we think it might be too hard or we're scared of how we might feel if we are disappointed or when we fail. And I have been reminded lately to remember my accomplishments in life and what I've already gone through so that I can stay focused on the future and trust that I will be successful because I've already overcame so much. Honestly, after I went through the detransition, I kind of felt like that was maybe I was done. uh, that was a pretty major life lesson. And then lately I'm realizing that that was me ripping off the band-aid of a huge cover up. The trans identity was a cover up of all of my deeper issues. And by ripping off the band aid, I now have the opportunity to heal all the wounds that were underneath. And the last couple of years, I've done a major amount of healing. And let me just say, like, I consider myself a healthy person today. I do not take any medications for mental or physical health. I'm strong of mind and body. I would say I'm still focusing on maintaining a very healthy mentality all of the time. You know, I still fall into anxious thinking sometimes. I overthink, I stress myself. I lose sight of God. I make small choices that have big impacts that I shouldn't do, like eating things I shouldn't eat because I know that my body's pretty sensitive, things like that. And that's where I hold myself accountable for the ways in which I hold myself back from my own greatness. And it really is a lot of times in the little things. And like I said, I've kind of been dealing with some hesitation from putting stuff out here on this podcast. And I think right now in that area, I kind of just need to get over this fear of just need to stop worrying about being perfect. And sometimes it's like in the journey of trying to become a greater person, a better person, maybe I almost put too much on myself. And actually, to become a better person, I have to humble myself. And like, I am certainly humbled right now with the experience that I've been going through. I feel absolutely humbled. And like, at home in Vegas, I have my whole podcast set up with the microphones and the camera and all this stuff. And like, I'm literally sitting in a gazebo at a church right now with my Bluetooth microphones and my iPhone, and my microphone clip is broken, so that's why I'm holding it. And um, life's not about being perfect. Life is about being good and loving your family. I'm gonna say that. I think and sharing the good things in life with the people that you love. I think for a while I really was trying to do a lot of things by myself, and I did not realize how lonely I was I was really lonely for a while, and I was really battling with that earlier this year. Like, and I went into some places in my mind I really didn't want to go, um, due to loneliness. And that's why I say again, I'm so grateful for the people that God has brought into my life who have taken me out of that place. We really are not meant to be alone. We are meant to be in community with one another. We're meant to share our gifts, share our blessings. And I think I've been hurt. I've been disappointed many times before by different communities that I've been involved in. Even some of the communities that I got involved in Las Vegas didn't turn out to be what I thought they'd be, even though I can say that they helped me. Just like I can say as well that the LGBTQ community helped me. Like, that was a part of my journey, and I'm grateful for every single person I've ever had the privilege of connecting with on my path, even if our ways have parted. Like, every person that I've ever loved still holds a place in my heart and always will. To the extent that for most people, I'm still open to connecting if anybody ever wants to reach out from my past. Um, I'd have to have a good reason to deny that. Just because of being hurt before doesn't mean that I close myself off. It's all just deeper learning. I think that in life we're constantly learning the balance between flow and structure, uh, keeping your heart open, but also learning from your mistakes. And I think about this a lot because I'm really passionate about child rearing, and I've worked a lot in childcare throughout my life. I have a sister who's 10 years younger than me, and I basically raised her. I've been a teacher before in many different areas: a swim teacher, art teacher, preschool teacher, a nanny, and I help take care of my cousins' children as well. And with children, it's this balance constantly of teaching, guiding, moving with them so that they learn the lessons that they're supposed to learn as much as possible by doing, but also creating the structure so that they don't make irreparable mistakes. You know, the structure and the flow, being gentle, being kind, being loving, but also being firm when you need to be firm. And I think that we're all kind of learning that always throughout life. And that's how you grow and build yourself up as a person. I think about like having boundaries as like maintaining yourself as like a castle. I like pictured a castle, and it's a regal thing to see yourself that way. You have walls, but there's also a bridge and there's a door. And the right people know how to approach you by knocking and asking, "Can I get to know you? Can I be a part of your life?" And in order to come and be in my castle, you have to follow my rules about how to respect me as a person, and vice versa. We're all figuring out how to navigate these relationships, and everyone has a different role in our lives, too. Some people just come over for dinner every once in a while. Some people come live in your house. And we're always constantly weaving this network of connections throughout our lives and learning from every single experience and every single relationship. I've always been fascinated by relationships. Always. I love relationships. And I think the ways in which we connect are just so interesting and intricate. And I think that relationships are one of the key ways in which we learn as humans, by connecting with one another. And of course, connecting too with nature. But relationships are really where it's at. Definitely. So I've learned a lot through my relationships in my life. And so even though, yes, I'm letting go of the past and pretty much all of my old friends, I release them with love and with lessons learned. And so it is. And I guess I'll just say this. I think I'm coming to an end of what I wanted to talk about today. But when I started this journey, I wasn't talking too much about faith. I mean, it's been a part of my journey, absolutely. But I've really lacked in my faith in God for a while. I really struggled with it. I think that for people who go through trauma, it can be difficult to find that reconnection and that understanding because, or maybe acceptance of like, why did I go through what I went through? If God is real, why would He put me through that? And I think that part of the acceptance is that you can't always know everything right away. Like I was saying in the beginning, you can't always know, but you have to trust that everything is for your best and highest good. And that when you go through hardship, it's because those lessons are something that you needed to learn. And I know I've had a lot of difficult lessons to learn. And I think partially because who I am as a person is I'm a little bit hard headed, I will be honest. And I'm very strong willed. And those are gifts, but I've had to learn how to use them. And so life has brought me through this experience to help me learn how to become a more disciplined and wiser person so that I can do good in the world. The good that I have wanted to do my entire life because I've always had a passion for helping people, but I can't help people without some structure. So, all that being said, I don't know how structured this episode was, but that's the thing in creativity. I think that's where we get to flow. And this podcast, as much as it is informational and educational, it is also a creative outlet for me changing and growing and transforming as a person. I am learning a lot, definitely, and I am happy to be able to share that experience with the world. Oh, and I guess I didn't finish my thought, but I'm definitely growing in my faith right now a lot. And I will certainly be talking about that more. But I'll just say that God has become a big part of my life. And He always was, but I just wasn't always paying attention. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you all for joining me on the bridge. Please reach out if you want to connect or do an interview or chat. I'm also always available to help people. I do appreciate when parents reach out to me, need some help with their kids who are trans identified. Um, I haven't really put this out there as much as I'd like to, but I am interested in doing more public speaking and coaching. So those are the areas where I'm really interested in, and I'd be happy to help. So please reach out to me if you ever want to connect or need some help. I'm happy to do that. Before I go, let me just suggest that today do something kind for a stranger. Tell someone that you love them. Call someone that you haven't called in a while, because that kindness that we show to one another is super important and makes a huge difference. So please keep it up, spread the love, and keep making connections. That's what life is all about. So I love you all so much. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time on the bridge. Bye, y'all.